This is the Rising Goddess Podcast, and I'm your host, Michelle Torrance. This is a space where when we start diving deep, we're talking spiritual, mental, and physical. We're getting real and connecting with ourselves and others in the most intimate ways. We'll be talking all things sacred sexual, relationship building, womb healing, connection, and connecting with and through our bodies, how to use our sexual and sensual energies to create, manifest, and heal our lives in our individual and collective ancient feminine lines, while intertwining our healing and connection with the divine masculine. We'll learn from amazing humans who take time and share their wisdom and sacred healing magic. Rising humans who are here in this world to be healers, teachers, guides, priestesses, warriors, shamans, and all divine sisters and brothers in rising. We'll get witchy, sassy, sexy, and saucy, talking all things that align us with our true nature and authentic selves, creating a community of divine feminine and masculine rising to be a massive part in this shift of world healing. So grab some green juice, light some cannabis, get your blankets, or sit by the fire. Let's rise up together. Catch you on the inside, dolls. Hello, all of my rising humans out there. I am so excited to bring you this episode. This episode is with the beautiful and lovely Summer Garner. Summer is also known as the Blonde Oracle. She is a spiritual evolution coach, a psychic medium, and feminine goddess riser. Her purpose is to shift global consciousness and rise the feminine aspects within us all so that we may heal and express love at higher rates. So she definitely fits in with our community. As a channel for higher realms, Summer assists your journey by tapping into your soul. She uncovers the unseen beliefs, wounds, and gifts to help you evolve into your highest expression. She offers spiritual coaching and courses to truly allow you to find the hidden goddess gems within you, because they are there, my beautiful risers, they are there. So sit back, enjoy this episode, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Definitely drop to the Rising Goddess Facebook page and drop your thoughts on the episode. Let us know. Let's have a conversation about everything that we talked about. So I'll catch you on the inside.
Welcome, Summer. I'm here with Summer Garner. She is an amazing, amazing goddess, and she is here to share some wisdom and light with you, with all of us. We're just going to dive right in. And so the first question that I ask all of my guests, Summer, is what do you love about being a human right now in this time and space?
Yes, I love this question. So most people feel like this time is so difficult to live in. And while it is, and I would say there's some truth to that, I find the most difficult is the most rewarding. So coming in with my purpose to really allow others to see their divinity, to see their light, is so needed right now. And we need to see it in a space where, in order to get into those places of love and to lift into more light, we have to be shaken in the darkness. We have to go through. It's like the storm, right? So the storm comes to serve and clear, right?
Yes.
That's what's the purpose of it. So if we can look at our experiences in this time right now as a way to shift us out of this radical experience into more light, we can enjoy the experience a little bit more. And that's what I love about this time and space.
I love that. And before tying into this, you talked about the dark and shaking in the shadow there, and how the storm, and I love that you brought up the energy of the storm and the visualization, because when you look into that storm, it may look so scary and intense, but from above the storm, you can see from the other side. So we talked briefly a little bit earlier, but tell me a bit about the shadow work and the importance of shadow work, who Summer was when she was younger, what event happened that led you into the shadow to help you find your light to lead you to the Summer you are now.
Yeah, so as a little girl at the age of 5, losing my sister was really difficult in our entire family. And so through that experience, I really had parents who were just in survival mode, as we all were. So growing up, I felt very alone. I had no idea of what unconditional love looked like in a family structure. And I, of course, don't I don't look at my parents as people who did anything wrong. They were, and we all signed up for a certain experience. But because of what I experienced, I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know what love really felt like because I didn't have parents who were able to mirror that for me because they were going through depression and trying to survive. So I went through a lot of codependency, not knowing who I was, how to love myself. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know healthy dynamics within a family structure or within a relationship, be it husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, doesn't matter. What love looks like. So it was about 5 years ago that I had quite a spiritual awakening through the birth of my third child when I birthed at home. And through that experience, immediately, without me trying, I was able to now look at, okay, wow, there's more to life. There's something I have to dig into, to uncover, to see. And the things started just naturally coming up. So I realized in my dynamics and my relationships that I was always looking for love outside of myself. I always thought my happiness was somehow up to someone else outside of myself. So I started looking at those aspects. I started looking at my relationship with my mother, with my father. What is it about my relationships that taught me that I wasn't loved, that I needed to somehow fulfill it outside of myself? This was a really crucial thing in my life. So that was going into that shadow and really seeing that. That was just at least one aspect with regards to my relationships.
Well, I think you brought up so many amazing words that I love to hear and I love to dive into. And I think that so many women, men, humans, really, don't fully understand the base vibration or concept of what codependency is. And I think my personal thought process, and I'd be curious to know what your opinion is on this. I feel that, here in the 3D world, in the paradigm that we have been living the last couple thousands of years, this patriarchal way of fear living, I feel that there's been this underlining vibration of codependency addiction through all humans, even though they may not understand. I feel it's in the vibration, in the cells of what's happening. I really love how you shared that you didn't really blame your parents, that this is who they were at that time, and they were doing the best that they could with who they were, right? They were living their best life the only way they knew how. And even if that meant that there was depression or there was pain or there was sadness, they were doing the best. And I think as we grow and move past into this awareness of this codependency, we start to shift our judgment from others and ourselves.
Oh, yes, I completely agree. I look at that and I think, now I look at people who struggle, who go through these lessons, and I realize, wow, what beautiful, strong, courageous souls. Because that means they're able to go into that darkness. They signed up for that. Well, that means they really wanted to evolve. So
Yes.
I look at that and I go, how beautiful. I can see that now. And that's because I'm able to pull myself and do my own shadow work, that I could see that aspect within themselves. Codependency is an interesting thing because I feel like it, like you said, it's in the vibration. It's the society norm for us to somehow please others, to decide that, okay, if I do this for someone, that makes me a good person. What you're really doing is you're giving your power away.
Yes.
It's all about self-love first. You can never love another if you don't love yourself first. Period. Period.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think that where we're at right now is we're starting to see that pendulum swing where we have felt that self-love is conceited or self-love is being selfish. And I think right now what we are seeing, like I said, is this pendulum swing where people are diving fully into this self-love, but a word that I think you brought up earlier, and I'm not sure if we caught it on this particular recording, was the word bypassing. And I think that where we're at right now, because like I said, we all swing in pendulums when we are learning and going through growth. We're over here, and then we go into this rebellious stage, right? We go to this opposite end, and we're like, I'm going to do this way now. Right? Until we go back into our swing and our harmonious balance, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you're watching this, you guys, I put balance myself in quotes because I personally find harmony more balanced than the word balance. And I think, but anyway, I digress. But I think the self-love now is where we're at, where instead of, and I'd love for you to touch on this as well, self-love and spiritual bypassing, how those two are kind of going together maybe right now, and how we can use our discernment to recognize that we're trying to use a self-love practice as a way of bypassing versus diving into the shadow work and then using the self-care as the container of growth and grace from that shadow work, if that question makes sense.
Oh gosh, that was put beautifully.
Thank you. Wonderful. Good.
Yeah, that was amazing. You know, this is a really, really important discussion to have, and I really would love others to share this part. So, and this whole recording. You know, I look at, I'm going to use my mother as an example. God bless her. I love her to pieces. I look at a person who, in order to survive, in order to find some sort of sanity within herself and within assuming that love comes from the outside, she always looks to bring the family together. This is this old paradigm. I'm going to get into the other part, but let me start with this.
Sure.
Where everything is always, when can I see you, and when is the family going to get together? Because her whole basis of love is based on what the family unit looks like. Okay. And with this is a form of spiritual bypassing, because what she's doing is she's looking, and like I said, I love her, but let's anybody who does this is looking that somehow their love is going to be fulfilled outside of themselves, right? From outside experience versus going inside and doing the internal work. This is where spiritual bypassing can go, you know, full circle.
Yes.
So what people do, and what I have seen, and I know it's really easy for us to do, is decide, well, here I am in this experience, and oh gosh, I see that there's all these people spiritually enlightened, and if I do A, B, and C, if I meditate, if I, you know, have my woo-woo spiritual moon rituals and do X, Y, Z, somehow now I'm in that higher vibration.
Yes.
What truly, in order to evolve and lighten your soul, because that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to learn and evolve.
Yes.
In order to do that, you have to crystallize wisdom. How do you crystallize wisdom? You go through the dark. You have to go through a full karmic cycle. You have to see every side of every coin. What's two sides of every coin? Light and dark. You have to. You have to see those experiences. So that means if you haven't started the journey of going back and doing, even if you want to go into past lives, see a past life therapist, or go in with yourself, start the journey of deep meditation, going in and looking at your relationship, your wounds. If you don't know how to do it yourself, you can see somebody like Michelle and I, and we can guide you into seeing those things and the aspects within your experiences. You know it by how you get triggered. How are you triggered in life? How are your relationships triggering you? Your bosses, your coworkers, people on the street. When those feelings that don't feel joy or love or light arise, there's something within you that needs to be looked at to see, what is it in my experiencing that I've held on to? What belief system do I have about other people, about myself? And this is that work that I do see people doing, but if it's not happening, really needs to happen. It needs to be looked at, because we are here to heal. We are all reflections of each other. We're reflections of ourselves. So if you have any issues in any relationship, or you feel triggered by people, it's time to look at that. No more bypassing this.
I love that. And I think coming, and you and I, you know, we resonate on this. Summer and I have a lot in common, and we realized this last week. But I think where this is, and I think this is a kind of a natural progression or a natural shift coming from addicts. People, you know, I think people who have experienced addiction in their life, whatever the addiction is, I think they can easily transfer into bypassing. And I know my own self in the beginning, I was a transitioning into bypassing, the fake it till you make it, right? And there's a difference between faking it till you're making it and then acting as if. And I had this conversation months ago with my friend Claire, so I think moving into that bypass, but I love that, recommending to go into meditation. And there's so many, I think, confusion about meditation. Some people are like, no thoughts. Some people are like, let all the thoughts go by. Look, meditation is an internal thing. It is an individual process. You can meditate by sitting on a pillow maybe and having all these things down. Somebody else may be able to meditate by taking a walk down the street and standing underneath a weeping willow. By having that intention for meditation to go through the shadow work versus I'm going to meditate because this person's picture looks great on Instagram and I want to be a part of that, was the intention.
Oh, I have so much to say.
Yeah.
Start wherever you are.
Yes.
But there is more to meditation than just calming the mind. The true purpose of meditation is to connect to the higher realm. Period. That's when I got into meditation and everything started opening. We're going to go super woo-woo, though I don't like that word at all.
I don't either. We're spiritually goddess. Go all feminine, masculine intertwining. Get down deep and dirty in it. I love it.
Can we please ban that word right now? See the delete button? Beep.
Done and done.
Out. Okay, that word's out of the equation. The whole purpose, there's a reason we have a pineal gland. Okay, there's a reason we produce DMT. So I want all your listeners to know who haven't gone into that real true space. There is more to access than quieting the mind. Yes, start there. Start wherever you are. But when you start to feel that point between your eyes starting to, feel vibrations, or you feel tingling, or you start to see colors in meditation, you're getting there. Keep going. Keep going. There is so much more to access. You have the ability, like Michelle and I, all of us do, us goddesses, have the ability to talk and see spirit. Everybody does. That is what I want everyone to know, is that you too are a divine channel. Each one of us is. So meditation is much more than that, frou-frou, let's quiet the mind. Yes, that's beautiful. And if that gets people to start, I love it. But I want people to know there's so much more to it. Can I touch on the addict?
Yeah, I would love for you to. Please, go ahead.
I married into an extended family member who was this beautiful, and talk about her because she's this beautiful goddess. She met the president. She was speaking in front of legions of thousands and thousands of women worldwide. She was on the cover of Time magazine. This is somebody, a family member of my husband. And she decided to give all that up to raise her children. Beautiful. But what happened in the meantime, she became an addict and lost who she was. So where she's at today, it's really difficult for me to even talk about it, because here she was so strong and in her power, knew who she was. And absolutely, raising our children, that is one of the best things we can do. We are raising human souls here. But what we can't forget is who we are and what brings us joy and happiness. Our sensuality, our passion, who we are as women. We are here to freely move and be passionate and love ourselves, to give that all away to the family, to give that away to your children and lose yourself. And we see a lot of women who have raised they raised the children, and now what do they have left? What happiness do they have? They put it, codependency, let's talk about that. That's coming into play again, with their children. They don't have anything going for themselves because they gave it completely all away. And you're talking about harmony and balance. There again, it's like we need to remember we don't want to be there. Let's look at our ancestors. Let's look at our mothers and our grandmothers. Where are they today? What happened? Were they happy at the end of their life? Some of them. But let's look at the generation as a whole. I see a lot of women left empty.
I fully agree.
What do they have going for them? They lost it. They gave away all their power, that patriarchy society. No, ladies, I say we can do it all. Yes, it's tough. But in balance, we have to be able to be happy, be able to have our passion so that our children and our daughters can see what a balanced, harmonious goddess looks like, what she feels like. She's in her power. She speaks truth. She's connected to the divine. She knows what she wants. She stands firm and strong in that. She's grounded in it. That's what I want to see.
Yes, gosh, God, that just, my heart just beats with love every time I hear that. And I think everybody does have that ability. And just like you were saying, the harmonizing and the balancing, standing in your power, having those boundaries, and that's balancing the masculine and the feminine within. And, you know, for us, you know, if we don't have that masculine, that divine masculine, not the patriarchal toxic masculinity, which we'll get into in another episode too. I'd love to have you back and talk more.
Yeah.
But, you know, by having that harmonious balance of that, you are able to stand firm, you are able to have your boundaries, but yet you are able to let the feminine flow through and intend everything with love and light and service, and knowing that the only way you can do that outward, the feminine knows you have to do that inward first.
Oh,
I love that. You brought up so many wonderful words. I'd love to talk touch on a few of them before we get into your amazing course that you are doing. You said the word triggered. And I think a lot of people, again, I think it's another word that a lot of people use a lot without understanding the meaning or the purpose. I've heard somebody else say the word activated as well, and I think that there's a difference between the two. I think actually, let me rephrase that. I think maybe the trigger leads into the activation.
well said. Well said.
And as somebody, when you know, you see, I'm triggered this, I'm triggered that, I'm triggered this. Well, you will know when you're triggered because our birthright is joy, freedom, happiness, love. So when you feel discord, when you feel frustration or anger, then you know that something, maybe not consciously, but something is triggering something within you, so that way you can be activated to rise up.
Oh gosh, that is so beautifully said. I see trigger as such a beautiful blessing, again, because then it's in those moments that if you're emotionally activated, like you said, I love that it turns into that, because if you're emotionally responsive and it's not coming from the joy, you know there is something within you that's been held, whether that's part of your blueprint that's come in through this lifetime, because that's possible too. I know I've been healing lifetimes of codependent relationships. So I'm through that. I'd love to talk about that, what recently happened too, if we have time. But I will say with trigger, I always tell my clients and those that I work with that in those moments that you're feeling, let's use an example in a relationship. Let's say your significant other says or does something that all of a sudden you respond to with maybe your self-worth goes down, or you feel anger, right? Or you feel sadness, whatever the case is. In that moment, in order to find the trigger, because I think this is an important part, so I'm going to give you guys a tool on how to actually find out what are you triggered by and how can I heal this? I always say, in that moment, if you don't know what it is that would trigger you, so whether that is a belief or a wounding of some sort, go into meditation or go sit and get very quiet, whether in that moment or later that evening, but preferably immediately when it happens. Stop yourself in that moment. This is where the shift can occur, right? The shift. And say, and ask your spirit guides or ask yourself, your higher self wisdom or God, whatever works for you, and say, in this moment of trigger, please take me to the source of this wounding or belief system. In that moment, you'll either get a feeling, a word, a sentence, you'll see that wounding, where it occurred, any of the above. And the more often you do this, the better it is, or the more you'll be able to really dig in and do this, and it'll come more easier for you. However you're feeling in that moment, or if you get that word, or you see that ex-boyfriend, or you see your mother or your father, you know in that moment that's where the source of this wounding occurs or occurred. So now you can say, oh, wow. And let me give a quick example if I can. Last year, I remember my husband and I were getting into something, and I remember in that moment, I stopped myself, and I remember feeling just really like a total lack of self-worth. I felt like he's out going out late at night, and I feel so alone. I feel so abandoned, right? And so I figured, okay, where did this come from? Where did I store this in my body? So I asked my spirit guides, I asked my higher self, where did the source of this wounding come? I was immediately taken to a memory I hadn't thought about in years, which was my ex-fiance. I was at his door at his apartment, and he slammed the door in my face, and I just basically, he was like, I don't want you, I don't need you. I just fell to my knees crying because I loved him so much. In that moment, I sat in that space because I didn't love myself enough, and I felt so abandoned and unloved. I wounded right at that moment. Imprint,
Yes.
emotional imprint.
Yep.
And so that had carried on until it came about in appropriate timing. I was able and willing to look at why I was being triggered. And it was because of that wounding, and it was replaying out over and over again in my relationships. So everybody was showing that to me, especially the males, right, in my life. And now I was able to see it. So we could get into how to go from there. But the biggest part of knowing that trigger is where it comes from. Once you know that, you know why it keeps occurring. Now you see the cycle and what you need to learn. Now you can crystallize it. If you can heal, forgive the people involved, forgive yourself for it, and know that it's only something as part of your experience to show you that you really do love yourself. You really are pure love. So whatever occurred, you are also the opposite of it. So you can see that and just know the truth of the situation. And everyone's only ever acting out of where they're at in life and what wounding may have occurred, because we are pure love and light, right? That is our birthright. So any of those triggers are only happening because it's usually passed down through other relationships and through the ancestors and through DNA, right? That was really long, wasn't it?
Yeah, I loved it though. I think it's so great. And I just want to let you guys know, to the listeners or those who are watching, whatever is going on, first of all, I want to tell you the most important thing is what she said was asking yourself that question. That's the one most important part of this. And by asking yourself that question, first of all, kudos for you for that, because that is you, like she said, shifting right there. You are no longer running. You are no longer bypassing. You have stood your ground. You are Atreyu, and you are facing the black wolf. Yes. And you are doing it. Yes. And having that confidence and forgiveness work is something I know, Summer and I could go on for days really with all the things we want to talk about. But the one word I wrote down when you were saying forgiveness and you were forgiving them, forgiving you, is the word grace. I think so many people are stuck in this grit mode right now that they're forgetting all about the grace. And once again, we have that harmony and that balance, that yin, that yang, that light, that dark, that up, that down, that in, that out. We are a polarized world. So therefore, there are things that are polarized. So having the grace for yourself, first of all, for asking the question, and then understanding or following or finding the self-love that is inside of you for you to allow yourself to forgive yourself. I think it's usually, I know for me in my personal growth journey, one of the hardest things or one of the biggest obstacles that I've gone through in my obstacle course here was learning how to forgive myself and realizing that my worthiness is already there. Forgiving myself just allows me to create space for others. So thank you so much for that. And you also talked, I wrote down the mother wound, which we're going to get into a whole series and topic on the mother wound. So
I just got days for that.
So before we go into some other things, first of all, I did look up NACO and Medicine for the People. And you guys, this is reggae, and it is passionate. It came under the reggae form. Some of it is reggae, some of it is, I think Warriors, I think was the one that I really connected with. But I would definitely recommend that. So I'll put some show notes and put them in the show notes down below. If I'm new, I must be new, because there's so many people who are listening to them. But just one little thing before we go the fire round. Tell me about your course. She has a course coming up, The Goddess Way, Reclaiming Your Power. So share with us what this course is about. Who is it for? Why will it serve them? And why will it serve the collective when they decide to serve themselves with it?
Oh, thank you for this. So on my journeys, when I first opened up to spiritual realms, I realized I could tap in. I was a medium. I could connect in with the other side. So I learned what it was to be a channel. I learned to connect in with all that. Through that experience, it didn't happen right away. I had all these experiences occurring, which were all for my development, so that I can also share with the world what I was going through. Really uncovering all aspects of the psyche, the mind, the body, the soul, and the spirit. That's what my course is about. So it's a 5-week journey. And how it came about was my experiences with my husband, through also becoming a spiritual coach, becoming a spiritual leader, and tapping into my sensuality and starting to release and let go of shame, of guilt, knowing what the full spectrum of what a full embodied goddess woman looks like came to me through my experiences this last 5 years. And more recently, as I was on the edge of divorce with my husband, I was working on my course, and I just knew, okay, there's more about this course that needs to come. So through my almost crossover of divorce, my husband awakened. I found the divinity in being this female who was true, who was honest. I spoke my truth to him. I was firmly grounded, and I wasn't afraid. I was coming in my power, even if it meant 3 kids in an apartment and barely surviving. It didn't matter. My birthright is joy. Yes. My birthright is sensuality. My birthright is passion. I knew at this moment, I need more, I want more, and bam, he woke up. And through that experience, what I realized was we hold the capacity to rise the masculine, both within ourselves, but on the external. So that experience has been added into the Goddess Way. And so the full spectrum of mind, body, soul, and spirit goes through the mind and belief systems, opening the third eye, through the body, how we nourish our body to be high vibrational, how to move it, to experience those things, how to release our old wounds, how to find them in the first place, going into the spirit, or the soul, as we pass through and look at our karmic patterns, as we, dive deep into what the soul is to really find our purpose. I teach us and go through that. And then we get into spirit, where I open you up to learning auras, how to become psychic, how to open that full third eye, and how to find that divine guidance and all the answers you're looking for within yourself. So to me, the goddess encompasses all of it.
Yes.
We have access to all of it. So it's fully healing and being embodied. And of course, we're not perfect. We're always evolving. But it's the blueprint on how to evolve, on how to live that life. And now once you have all those tools, you take that with you everywhere you go. So the goddess is fully empowered.
Yes, I love that. And I think your words and the words that are your course, reclaiming your power. And I think power is a trigger word for many women. Reclaiming is a trigger word for many men. And I love how you use both a masculine and a feminine trigger word, maybe not knowing, but you use both of this, and you maybe did. I mean, your thought process is that way, but using those words really allows, it triggers it, and it's activating thoughts with both the men and the women. And again, when we talk about masculine and feminine energies on my podcast, and anybody else, if you're listening to it, somebody who is fully understanding in the knowledge of the masculine and the feminine, we're not talking gender, we're talking energies. So all women gender carry the masculine and the feminine energy. All men carry the masculine and feminine. All non-binary people who, humans who identify as whoever they identify, all carry masculine and feminine energies. So this is what we're talking about when she does this. And I'm so excited for this course. And so before we get to how they can find you, find the course, and just come connect with you on social media and just grow the light of rising, let's do a couple of fun, fast questions.
All right.
So I already know this answer, but for our beautiful listeners out there, baby, what's your sign?
I'm Scorpio.
Yes, I love my Scorpios. What was the most recent thing you looked up on Google?
Oh, my website.
I love.
I'm relaunching it, so I've been on Google looking at it. Sorry, that's what's going on.
Hey, you know what? Ain't no shame in our game. We're business owners. We're entrepreneurs. We got to make sure we find our website.
Yeah.
What song are you just all up into right now?
Oh, I've been playing a lot right now is Broken Glass by Rachel Platten. Oh, it's good. If you haven't heard it, oh, ladies, it's really breaking that glass ceiling and finding and breaking through into new areas that you haven't touched yet. That uncomfortable growth, that space where it feels like, oh, I'm not good enough for this, and really learning to break through. That song's all about it.
I love that. I love that. What spiritual text or book are you reading right now?
Pussy.
I love it. I love it all.
So good. Everything I can get my hands on that is involved in sensuality, I'm living it, breathing it right now. I'm healing that baby.
I love that. And while we're on the word pussy, Summer had an amazing post the other day talking about words that triggering and all of these things. And so I'm curious to all of my listeners out there, come to my Facebook page, go to Summer's, and let us know, what does the word pussy bring up within you? Does it trigger? Does it activate? Does it get you all randy and ready to go? What about it does it do to you? And then one more fast question here. When you were a kid, what was the movie, a movie or two, but there was always, for me it was one, but what one movie did you really connect and vibrate with that made you feel like you were flying in the world or that you could take over the world? What movie when you were a kid did you really resonate with that really had an impact on you? That's a better way to say that.
That's a really good question. I didn't have a movie as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I got older when I really started kind of exploring that. I have two movies that I don't know why get me. Harry Potter.
I love Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. And at the time, I loved Lord of the Rings when it first was coming out. There was something, of course, so magical. Anything that's magical, that has a sense of spirituality to it, I loved it. And now I know why. Because this is something I've been, cultivating for so many lifetimes, but truly because we are such spiritual beings. So anything that connected me to that, I was into.
Have you seen The Dark Crystal?
No.
I encourage you to watch that. That's an old 80s movie. It's my husband's favorite. And that will definitely, I think you'll enjoy that a lot. I'd love to hear your feedback on that. And for those of you out there who are listening or watching, if you've watched The Dark Crystal, I'd love to get your thoughts on that too. I just watched it for the first time this year, or 2017. My husband has talked all about it, so I really think you'll like that. But I love that. I love magical movies as well. So now let's end this, and I'm so sorry to end this. I know we're going to have you back. We're going to have Summer back, everybody, because there's so many wonderful things that we could talk about. But where can everybody find you? Where can they come connect and all of that?
So on my website is theblondeoracle.com. I am relaunching currently, so it is the old face, because with my new course, which will launch in about a week or so, we will be starting on June 4th. The whole course will be on my new website launch. So on Instagram, I'm _theblondeoracle_ again. Same, my Facebook page, you'll find me at Summer Garner. Also with my private Facebook page, I accept friends on there too. So you can find me on all the above. Thank you for asking.
Yay, wonderful. Well, you guys go out there and go seek out Summer, go connect with her, take a look at what she's offering with her course, and, you know, use some of the tips and the tools that she's provided for us. The most important one, I think, that is really going to really be a huge shift for this world, especially where we are right now. And today being the new moon in Taurus, right? Setting intentions, whether this recording will be played, it will be launched after this new moon, but we are taking advantage of this energy right now. But definitely take advantage of the energy whenever new moon you're in, but set those intentions and listen to the tools that she said. Go inside and ask yourself that question, and ask yourself that question without judgment, and see what comes up. That is it, Summer. Oh, go ahead. You have something you want to say. You have a little dot pinpoint, I can tell.
I wanted to add to that. The path of joy will never be found without. Go inside and find your joy once more.
Thank you. And then on that beautiful note, we need to end with that. And so that way we can leave this as a high vibration. Summer, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And I can't wait to have you back. And I can't wait to hear what everybody feels, because I know that they're just going to love you. So
ditto. This was beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So much love.
Bye.